Hi everyone, my name is Jade Calver. Today we're going to discuss processing times for an application. So the processing times for an application will depend on a few factors. The most important factor is what kind of application that you've submitted. So different types of applications have different processing times. Furthermore, different types of applications are processed at different offices. Some applications are processed within Canada, and other applications are processed at visa offices abroad. And so different visa offices have different processing times. For example, if you submit a visitor visa to a visa office in the Philippines versus Brazil, your application will be processed at a different time because they have different levels of busyness. So they have heavier workloads, say, at the Manila visa office, so it will take longer to process at that visa office. A lot of times I get the question, what is involved in the actual processing of my file? What happens when I send my file in either as a paper file or an online application? So again, it differs with different types of applications, but generally the process goes like this. When an officer first receives an application, so there will be an intake officer, and they'll go through your file and make sure that you've included all of the mandatory documents. So if it's an express entry application, for example, they'll go through the application and just make sure that the mandatory documents are there. They won't actually look at the documents. Same thing for a sponsorship application, a temporary work visa or student visa. They just do an intake check to make sure that you've included everything that needs to be there. If it's complete, it will go in a queue for processing. If it's incomplete, they'll refuse your application or just send it back to you if it's a paper application. After that, it goes to, as I said, it goes to the reviewing officer, so the officer who's in charge of your case. And then it goes usually into a pile, into their workload, and that's when the wait time happens. So usually, again, it can go anywhere from a few months for a work permit or a study permit to a few years for different types of permanent residency applications. During that time, the officer will review your application, and this is what can delay an application. So if the officer has to request updated police clearances for you, updated medicals, new documents for a proof of relationship if it's a sponsorship application, this is really what will delay an application. So that's really where the delay comes in. Or if you have a more complicated case, so say you have an express entry application in and you have lots of work history in the last 10 years, the fact of the matter is that you would have a lot more documentation for the officer to go through. So that 6 months that they promised might turn into 8 or 9, and it's really nothing to be worried about. Another question that I get is, how do I check the status of my application? And again, my answer is always, it depends what kind of application you've submitted. So if you submitted a visitor visa, study permit, or work permit online through your GC account, then you can just log into your account, and it actually now shows a processing bar that will show you how far your application is and when they think that it's going to be processed by. So if you have a paper-based application that you've submitted, there's also an online tool on the Immigration Canada website, and you can log in, and you need to have some information from your application, so you should always keep a copy of your application. And so you can provide a combination of some information about you, so name, your UCI number, where you were born, and then it will show you basic information about the processing of your file. It's the same tool that we use to update your address, and then once you go into your processing account, you can see if they have received your application, when they received your application, and if they've requested. It doesn't actually show you if they've requested documents, it will just say we sent you correspondence. So it's a good way if you think that you've missed something from Immigration Canada, you can log in and see if they've sent you any correspondence. Lastly, so if it's been some time since you submitted your application and you've been waiting for months and you haven't heard anything, and you're wondering what's happening with your file, there are a few things that you can do depending on how long it's been. So if you log into the Immigration Canada website and you go to the processing times for your type of file, they'll have posted how long it takes to process your file. So if you log in and say you've submitted a work permit and it says it takes 2 months and you have been waiting for 3 months, then there's something you can do about it. You can email the visa office and ask and say it's gone over the posted processing times and ask for a status update. Lots of people, obviously, they're wanting their applications to be processed quickly, and they'll want to know, say, within a month when the posted time is 3 months. If you ask for a status update before the posted processing times, chances are that Immigration Canada just isn't going to respond to you, or you may just get a message back saying it's within processing times, we'll get back to you kind of thing. These days, a few applications, again, I wouldn't worry. A lot of the times it's fairly common for immigration applications to go over processing times by a month and a half. If it's just been that, I wouldn't fret. Again, that happens. So don't worry about that too much. Again, a matter of a few weeks isn't a cause for concern. I also wanted to touch base on a few things that lots of people don't think about when they think about processing times. So again, with the introduction of the biometrics, which is fingerprinting requirement, lots of people don't take that into consideration, in that will delay posted processing times these days, because they'll request your biometrics during processing. So sometimes it's a good idea to provide those up front. Also, another thing that people don't think about is the fact that they need to actually, when they get to the approval, it's still usually actually another month until they get their visa and can go to Canada. So for temporary visas, you'll have to send your passport into the visa office. And for permanent resident visas, you need to get your confirmation of permanent residency document back before you can fly to Canada and become a permanent resident. So even if an application says it takes 2 or 3 months to process, I would actually add another month onto that, because by the time you submit the passport and get it back, it's usually an extra month. But that's everything today when it comes to processing times with Immigration Canada applications. If you have any other questions, you can contact our firm, Calver & Associates, or visit our website at calverimmigrationservices.com.